Vote on silent, please. Live on YouTube, Chair.
Welcome everybody. Lovely to see you all on this very windy cold night. But we're warm in here. And people attending at the back there, welcome. All right. And also to everybody who's following us on YouTube and
No, just YouTube tonight.
okay, lovely.
But the link is available on our Facebook.
Any apologies for absence, please?
Oh,
Initially, press it a couple of times and then it should come alive.
yeah.
So you get apologies from councillors Tewkesbury, Ferrari, Kanji, Barrow, Hamilton and Hope.
And Councillor Taylor, please.
Thank you. Any further? Oh, yes, that's what you did before I asked. Very quick then, Dave. Now, could I have a proposer and seconder for that, please? Proposer,
Councillor Jones.
Councillor James, seconder. Are you going to argue it out between them? Oh, yes. And right now, could we have a vote, please?
Four. I'm going to be counting tonight because there are a lot of you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20? Yeah. And then against?
Any against, please?
And any abstentions?
And any abstentions?
Did you vote,
That's
Councillor
carried.
Dick?
No, because I was not concentrating on what the motion was about, and I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh,
So therefore, no, I didn't vote at all, all right?
Okay.
Trying to get the agenda up on the laptop.
Are there any declarations of interest, please?
We've had none pre-notified, Chairman, and no one has requested a dispensation.
Thank you. And now, we'd like to ask about the minutes of the last meeting. Is there anything arising, or do you agree with them as they are? Another show of hands to see if you agree. Proposer.
I heard that.
Oh, did you? That's without the mic.
Proposer, Councillor Weller.
Yes. And as seconder, Councillor Huckle.
Councillor Huckle. Vote in favour.
All those in favour?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Which I think is unanimous, is it correct?
Yes.
21.
Right, members are asked to agree the minutes of the last meeting. I would have just done that, but oh dear. Right. Good at this, isn't I?
It's very small print this time, I do have to admit, it's very small print, Chair, my apologies.
Right. Councillor questions and statements, please.
So we've had none pre-notified, Chair.
Thank you. And, oh, yes, my announcements. First of all, I'd like to say we lost Mary. Winter, yes, and it's very sad. And I went with Councillor Northern and his wife, and we went to, I won't say funeral, it was a celebration. It was absolutely fantastic. Very, very moving and quite uplifting. I had attended a couple of things. Went with Councillor Huckle to the Holy Trinity School, and the children were amazing. Some of them were really adult and asked grown-up questions, made me look silly, as if. That was lovely though. It was a brilliant time. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And then in the evening, I went with Councillor Dickinson to the Brownies. And that was lovely. That really was. That was a nice evening. And both occasions I wore my robes. And so the children were all very excited. Wanted to know why did I wear a pirate's hat? So lovely. And then last night I went with Councillor Harris to Dorset Youth Association. That was very, very good, and I think we brought a lot back from that. That's me, thank you. There are other things, but the others were involved, lots of laughter and cake. Right, are there any public questions?
So we've had none notified, Chair, and there are no members of the public present today.
And now I would ask Councillor Dickinson to introduce his proposal.
Thank you, Chair. It's a simple motion that I would like to propose, that this council agrees to delegate to the chair of each committee meetings to decide the layout of the meeting room and what best suits that particular meeting. Cafe-style meetings do not suit all types of meetings.
Councillor James.
I don't think I need the microphone, you can probably hear me. I do agree with Peter, but I would like to put in an amendment to say that I think it should be full council that makes that decision and not just committee chairs and vice chairs. I think it's up to everybody to have a say, not just the chair and vice chair. So my amendment is that it would be full council here tonight that make the decision. I have a seconded for that, so.
Councillor Furman.
Yeah, sorry, are we voting on Councillor James's amendment first? Sorry. I was going to.
Second.
Oh, okay.
I'll second that.
So are there any comments?
I would just suggest an amendment, so you don't, well, yeah, we've got to vote on that one, sorry. I was going to say, can I, Councillor James, whether we consider just letting the committees decide rather than it coming back to full council every time. Just let the committee decide how they want to set themselves out rather than the chair and vice chair. So it doesn't always have to come back to
No,
this.
it wouldn't have to come back if we made the decision tonight to revoke what we did, that we go back to having normal layout for all our meetings. So it's here tonight.
That point of order, that's not the motion. That's not the motion.
The
That's
amendment item to you, that's what it is. So it's after.
Right, Councillor Young.
Yeah, I just want to say that, yeah, it's a bit general to ask the full council to decide whether a particular committee meeting is going to be cafe style or otherwise. So I'd say, as Councillor Furman just said, leave it to each committee to decide. But within each committee, I would have thought there was scope to have an agreement or a vote on whether we have cafe style or otherwise within that committee. Because personally, I don't like cafe style. There's many people that don't.
Councillor Legg, please.
Come on.
We'll hear you.
There we are. Thank you very much, Mayor. I'm going to vote against this amendment because I don't want to come back to full council for each one either. But I do agree if there's another amendment put forward to do it for a committee to decide. So I shall vote against this amendment, but vote for one I hope will come forward following.
Councillor Bergman.
Well, yeah, I think it's over bureaucratic for this committee to decide the membership. So I'd agree with the point that you made over there. But in my experience, I have, without being arrogant, I've chaired lots of committees, never noticed on them. But the chairman usually has the gift or the ability to choose because they're all different. And surely the chairman must be able to have the responsibility of deciding the format of that committee. However, saying that, if the mood on this committee is against that, then I'd agree with, I can't remember your name, sorry, Councillor. Young's suggestion that the committee decides, just to make it simple.
Councillor Nixon.
So, thank you, Chair. Just to clarify Councillor James's amendment, you're basically saying that the council tonight make a decision that going forward, all meetings will not be counted cafe style. We're not saying this is coming back
No,
to each time. We're saying that we do away with cafe style
yeah,
in general.
yeah.
And that's a decision of the council, which is then, and then binding on that.
How we made it, yes, exactly, that's what I'm saying, and that's the decision we made in the first place, and that's what we should be doing tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Lambert, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we agreed that the cafe style was a trial by which we would hope to encourage members of the public to come along and participate. It's very successful, it would appear. He says sarcastically. I don't feel that it's helped at all. I don't think it's got any value, and I suggest we go back to how we were before, which is the motion that I seconded.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So we.
Could I have clarity on the motion,
I'm
please?
just typing it in, Chair.
Can I just, Madam Mayor, can I just?
Yes.
Yeah, just to say that I know some people felt that it was a way of engaging with the public, but I can honestly say that those of us that have been on council a number of years, we engage perfectly well before our committee meetings used to have lots of members of the public here with us. So, and also, I'm sorry, but I don't like sitting with my back to people or having people sat with their back towards me. I know we are here because of this group, but in cafe style, it just didn't work with tables all over the place, people turning sideways. It doesn't look good either.
Sorry. Councillor Wakeling, please.
Chair, can I just give notice if this amendment fails, I intend to put in another amendment, so. If we go to a vote on this amendment and it fails, I will put in something alternative.
Is that ahead of Councillor Furman's amendment?
So I have a proposal.
Do you want to put that?
So could we have a vote, please?
Which one are we voting for?
So you,
We're
just
voting
for
for the original proposal.
no.
No.
Won't- Councillors, you're being asked to vote on the amendment, which is here. But the council agrees that all committees return to formal meeting layouts. That's what you're being asked to vote on now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's vote on
Yeah.
that.
Simple. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Yes. Right, could we have all those in favour, please?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Against?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Any abstentions?
I think that's 21, everybody.
Thank you.
So that amendment is carried, Chair.
So we will revert to the old way and not with sitting with our backs to somebody or going over the neck. Thank you. Moving on. Sorry?
Either it was a new proposal or it's an amendment. Which is it?
And then we vote now on the motion that has now been amended.
So you're voting on that exact same thing again?
Right, okay.
Basically, yeah.
It's been voted on that.
No, the amendment's been voted on.
Yeah, technically.
Right. Could I have a proposal, please?
We're voting on the original proposal.
No, you're voting on that again.
That again.
It's your motion.
Quite frankly, I think we've voted on it and that should stand. So can we, Councillor Weller? Councillor Weller, yes.
At the risk of sounding a bit pedantic, we've got an important agenda in front of us, and we're spending time on something that is really quite trivial in the general scheme of things, and I'd like us to get on with it without making ourselves look a laughing stock.
About to do that. Moving on, The budget monitoring, I'd like to ask Ian Neal to do this, please.
Chair, I'll just do a very brief introduction. What members have before them within their agenda is the report relating to the quarter, which is previously been considered by the Finance and Governance Committee at this last meeting. The purpose of it coming to full council is to report any recommendations that Finance and Governance have made for full council to consider. Just to inform members that there weren't any recommendations put forward, so we are asking members just to note the report as the overall custodians of the budget, which has been approved. Just to inform members, you will have it in your report that we are predicting just a slight underspend of 52,000 as at the end of Q2. We have been able to absorb the national pay award, which is the national agreement rather than a local agreement, and managers have done that by using the vacancies of existing posts and just delaying in recruiting to those posts. The budget working group has started to meet in respect of the budget for next year. But what I would just say to members, that we're just asking for the Q2 to be noted at this stage. Any discussions as part of that budget working group will come back to members as a separate report at the next meeting after the Finance and Governance is met in December.
Any questions? Councillor Burton.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to say that I'm well aware of all the hard work that's been done by the town clerk and the town clerk in this, and also the budget monitoring group as well. Really, just to play that in these hard times, I think we need to be aware of wherever we can reduce the precept as much as we can. And I don't want to presume what's happening with the budget management group, but I think it's incumbent on this council to ensure that we do well by our decisions, reduce the precept and make sure budget matches that.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Can I move the recommendation, Madam Chair?
Thank you. Yes. Councillor Weller? Second. Yes. Right, all those in favour?
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. That's unanimous. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I call on Ian Milne again to introduce the next item, which is the appointment of internal auditors.
Thank you, Chair. This one will be even quicker than the last. I hope we're just asking members just to confirm continuation of our internal auditors, Light Touch, who we've been using previously. And that's basically all we're asking, Chair.
Sorry.
Sorry. Councillor. Somebody wanted to ask a question.
No, it's not proposed motion, Chair.
Oh, you're proposing, thank you. And seconded. Yeah, all those in favour?
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. We now move on to parks and open spaces, and I'd like to ask Tara to come forward and introduce the item, please. And this was recommended by the Services Committee.
Thank you, Chair. Don't know if this is working, but you'll all hear me anyway, so I don't need to worry. The purpose of this report is to ask full council to adopt a draft Parks and Open Spaces strategy as recommended by the Services Committee. Weymouth Parks and Open Spaces are highly valued by residents and visitors alike and help to improve the economy, quality of life and environment of the town. By committing to creating welcoming spaces in our parks, gardens, play areas and cemeteries, the Parks team will physically improve and maintain a network of open spaces that are safe, well used, attractive and cared for. The draft strategy was produced in conjunction with the public, councils and friends groups via questionnaires. The council's CEE working group and the friends groups have been consulted on the draft Parks and Open Spaces strategy. Once adopted, priorities and actions laid out within the strategy will ensure that parks and open spaces continue to be maintained to a high standard for the next decade. End question.
Excuse me, could I just ask Tara Williams a question?
Of course.
Do you do speed writing as well?
Absolutely.
No questions, Councillor.
Just one, Tara, can you give us an assurance that everything contained within the strategy can be achieved within existing and future budgets?
Within existing and future, well, existing budgets as they are now with existing staff, yes.
So do the councillors agree to the adoption of the draft Parks and Open Spaces strategy? Proposer and seconder, please. Councillor Brooks and James. Right, can we have a show of hands, please, all those in favour?
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, Chair.
Those against?
None.
Abstentions?
1, 2, 3, Chair.
Thank you, that's carried. Oh, yes, Tara, you may go if you wish.
I'm just going to stay for the Radipole one, but thank you, Chair.
And I'd like to introduce Shane Smith, who will introduce the next item, which is request for release of reserves for works to the town hall.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shane Smythe, and I'm the property manager for the Town Council. This report presents to full council a request for the release of the reserves, which is supported by the Finance and Governance Committee. A recent review of the fire safety in the new town hall has highlighted works that need to be undertaken, as well as external repairs to the building to ensure its upkeep and remains watertight. This is all part of the council's efforts to guarantee that all properties are well maintained and safe. Thank you. Any questions?
Councillor Harris.
It's not a question, but it's a reminder of what was actually said at the Finance and Governance Committee, and that is that as well as potentially releasing these funds, we were requiring a regular 6-monthly report on all our assets and a suggestion of how much each of them is going to need over the future years. So as well as asking us for this particular sum at this point in time, we want that to be something that doesn't come as a surprise to us all.
Thank you. Councillor Nicholson.
Yeah, yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, I'd just like to reiterate what Councillor Harris says, but I think there is some urgency around this as well. I think obviously we've got to approve this because there's the health and safety and safety of staff at risk here. But I think we must have this information as soon as we can, so that we are aware as a council of what potential liability could be, because I think that could be quite much. And so I'm happy to support this, Chair.
Thank you. Could I have a proposer, please? And a seconder? Right, could I have a show of hands, please? Okay.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Anyone against? 1. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shane, you may go home.
Our staff team is very tightly knit, Chair.
Oh, goodness me, yeah, I say. Right. Now, we have a request for CIL funding towards Radipole Park project, and I'd like to ask Ben Heath to step forward and introduce the item. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this report is to request the full council up to £150,000 of Weymouth Town Council CIL funding towards the Radipole Park and Gardens project. Just a little bit of background as to why the request has come forward. Back in 2020, we were awarded just over £1 million from the National Lottery Heritage Fund to improve Radipole Park and Gardens and add new facilities and things to the park to engage with more people and drive the use and the type of facilities that could be delivered at the park. Unfortunately, due to the COVID pandemic, there was a long delay in the project halfway through. Picking that project up and following through the procurement process to enable us to put a approved supplier in place. Unfortunately, due to the delay because of the pandemic, there's been a sharp rise in building materials and overall costs. And we've been working hard with the preferred supplier and the project team to look at as much value engineering as we can, because that significant price increase meant that the budget no longer fulfilled all the elements to put the project into place. Just to give you a bit of background on where the CIL funding is at the moment, the balance is 471,000 with commitments of 141,000, leaving us free funds currently of 329,807 pounds. In terms of the use of the CIL, that would be used alongside the value engineering to close the funding gap to still make the project viable. It's really important that the project still has a cafe and toilets as part of the building mix in terms of fulfilling the lottery outcomes and making all the functionality of the park still add up and work. So chasing funds around the Lawn Tennis Association for 4 tennis courts to refurbish them, as well as the CIL funding as additional funds. The original planning permission runs out in mid-March next year, so we're under a tight timescale to pull everything together and get the project. And without the CIL funding, we're probably not going to close the funding gap. If that happens, then the project team will have to look at removing things from the scheme. If we remove things from the scheme, then we're under severe pressure from hitting the lottery outcomes. And if that happens, then the lottery are well within their rights to say that we can't hit those outcomes and potentially request all or part of the funding back. Hence why we come forward for up to 150,000 of CIL funding. Thank you.
Councillor Gray.
Hi, Ben. You said the magic words there, up to. I just want to be clear, it doesn't say that in the report. So is it 150 or is it up to 150?
Yeah, and the purpose of the report at the top says to use up to 150,000.
Paragraph on page. Anyway, okay, so it's up to.
Up to, yeah. Obviously, if we don't get up to 150,000, then if we don't hit, sorry, the 150,000, everything below that will again put those elements under pressure. So there may still be things we have to take out. We go back to the law.
My other question is, if I may, Chair, is we've got 62,000 in 3 reserves that are earmarked for heritage lottery funding. So is that net of that, or is that on top of that 62,000?
My understanding is that will be on top of the funding which we already have. So the overall project will consist of previously earmarked for set aside section 106s, as well as the CIL funding, as well as the national lottery fund.
Yeah, I was just a bit confused because we've got 12,000 in one reserve and 30 in another, and then 20 in another. So we're proposing to use that as well as another 150. Just want to be
Up to 1.
And that
I know that.
And that funding can only be used for this project.
Yeah, so that plus up to 150. Thank you.
Councillor Nicholson.
Thank you, Chair. There are 2 points really. First of all, I'm somewhat disappointed that we seem to have taken so long to get to this point. I mean, I know there's been COVID, but life has had to move on in that period, and we now have been given 4 days to make a decision on this, which I think is rather a shame. The other thing is, can I ask how many expressions of interest we've had for the running of the cafe, please?
Charmaine, would you like to answer that, please?
So with regard to the one, the cafe, we haven't yet gone out to tender because we don't know if we're going to have a cafe or what format that's going to be at the moment. So it could be that it's a kiosk, we don't know. But when we are at that stage, we are going to go out to tender with all our financial regulations like we would do for any other building. You may recall, I think it was earlier this year, later part of last year, we did have a report of finance and governance that looked at how we've managed the kiosk, and it was decided that that committee would go out to tender, and we'll do that when it's time's right.
My only concern about this is that we are committing money to build this thing. If we go out to tender and nobody wants to run it, what are we going to do with it? I'm just disappointed we haven't at least gone out for expressions of interest in this, because we could be in a difficult position. I mean, I think, if I remember rightly, the conversation we had then was that some members were concerned that we couldn't really run it in-house because we didn't think there was a viability to it because of the footfall. And if it goes out to expressions of interest of commercial concern, I feel we may run into the same problems. And if we do that, we could end up with a building, which is unusable. And bearing in mind now with this short time scale, 4 or 5 days, I think we've left ourselves open to considerable problems here, because I think I can't see we've got any choice other than to agree to this CIL funding. Well, I'm not happy with the timescale, but it just seems we're going about it completely the wrong way around. We should have had some at least expressions of interest, bearing in mind we knew what the cafe was likely to be, and potential bidders would know what the site was and what the potential of it was. I just think we're going to run into trouble with this, Chair.
Councillor Norman, please.
Thank you. Thank you. You can hear me all right, I'm sure. I understand those concerns. I would like to understand also quite what Weymouth Town Council already put into it, because we received, I think it was 1.1 something from the Heritage Lottery Fund, and then there were additional costs. So there's a total project cost which has changed. We're being asked to put 150k in. Councillor Gray has pointed out that there's money being pulled forward from some other reserves. So do we have a figure for what the total cost is and what proportion of it, what value within that is from the town council's funding? I'd like to know. But I'd also like to say we've got 1.1 million. We don't want to lose that. So maybe it's a necessary evil. Everywhere is suffering from this about costs rising. It's a real problem, and we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And it's not just cafe, there's also toilets, and it's an area which desperately needs toilets. They were removed 15, 20 years ago, and it is an area which needs public toilets. So it's not just the cafe. So I shall be voting in favour of this. Could I have that clarification, please? Thank you.
Okay, maybe something, Councillor, that I haven't got particularly to add. What I would say is the funding which we're holding, which was passed over from Dorset Council when we were formed, that's always been in part of the projections to be used for this project. So I can get you the figures, but funds we're holding in the reserves have always been set aside and have always been part of the project. It's the increase due to inflation, which is why the additional funds are needed through the CIL process. But I can come back and get you on.
Thank you.
Councillor Lambert, please.
Yes, thanks, Chair. I share Councillor Nicholson's concerns with regard to the cafe in particular. I'm rather concerned that we must make best use of any CIL funding monies. It is a bonus, and I want to see it being used in the best possible way for our communities. And quite honestly, I don't believe that building a cafe there is in the best interests of the best way of spending CIL money, in my opinion. We, as Councillor Nicholson said, we decided not to run the cafe ourselves, and which to my mind really does question whether it's worthwhile. I don't see that it's a necessity, as was suggested in the report. The environmental advantages, the other community advantages would still flow. One thing we're not short of in Weymouth are cafes. So I think I shall have to vote against this. Thank you.
Could I bring in the town clerk, please?
Yeah, just to clarify for members that the Radipole Park and Gardens project is a very wide-ranging project. The cafe is only an extremely small part of that. We're also talking about additional public toilets, a sensory garden, additional planting schemes, improvements in the formal gardens, as well as drainage improvements and pathway improvements on the main open space, a completely refurbished play area, a water play area, wheeled play areas. It's a whole revamp of the entire area. The cafe is a very, very small part of that. I wouldn't want the discussion to be derailed into thinking that it's just about a cafe. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Gray, please.
Ben, can I just ask, have we actually asked the lottery? Because I just heard the words, it's a very small part of the lottery bit. Well, if it's a very small part, what's the problem?
It's
You know, can't we just drop the cafe bit and leave the toilets there?
unfortunately not. We've asked that question. We've asked the lottery for more money. We've asked lots of things to the lottery, but the one thing that comes back is around for them. It's about the functionality of the park and the outcomes that were within that stage 2 bid that was originally put forward. Without the cafe and the toilet block, then the longevity of people staying in the park, the types of groups that will meet at the cafe and all of those things, for them it won't work without that focus and hub. Also, it's part of their, because it's heritage lottery, their sort of interpretation of things will be used around that cafe as almost a hub, and then spokes coming out with trails and things like that. So for them, without the cafe, a lot of the outcomes won't be possible, and therefore we're under pressure with them.
Brilliant. Thanks for clarity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Weller, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I've been involved in this project from the outset. The community involvement has been enormous. And a really diverse community have come together, which is exactly what was hoped to achieve and will continue with the achievement. You need to remember that Radipole Park Gardens is the closest area to one of our areas of greatest deprivation. Young people growing up in the Park District don't have gardens, don't have swings, don't have any play opportunities next to their houses. Their closest opportunity is the street or going over the bridge, which was built at huge expense to allow them access into the gardens, as it always was. I went to school in the Park District, and the closest anybody got to playing, and I accept that there is also the beach, but that's quite what that offers is quite different to what Radipole Park offers to young people. It's a matter of well-being, of health, huge amount in every respect. As the clerk has pointed out, this isn't just a matter of somewhere where somebody can get a cup of coffee. It's the whole package, hugely important. And I personally would be really quite upset if we felt that for the want or not of a cafe, we shouldn't go ahead with doing this. The cafe has been an important part, albeit a fairly small part, of the overall offer. It need not be a cafe, as Charmaine mentioned just now. It may just be a kiosk next to the public toilets, just as they have at Sandsfoot. But that's a viable business. I see no reason why this shouldn't be a viable business, and certainly back in the early days, we have lots of expressions of interest. I can't see how long before something is built, we can start tendering for somebody to run it. Once the money has been approved, that's probably the time to start tendering and to decide how big or how little the facility might be. But please don't let us jeopardize the whole project for the want of what is actually quite a tiny sum of money. I will be supporting this, and I hope that sufficient numbers of councillors will also be supporting, because it's for the importance of those people who live in the Park Tourist District live in that older part of Radipole and so on. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wakeling, please.
Kate has stolen my thunder.
Councillor Roos.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, in summary, to save like lots of debate here, we're not technically discussing the project, which has already been proposed, put through. Funding's been sought by the lottery. The lottery will take that money back if they don't get the proposal done to the way that they wanted it in the first place. So I think what we're actually debating here is 150k to make sure that the project can go ahead without there being shortfalls, hopefully. So can I propose that we go ahead and vote on this, please?
Second that.
Councillor James.
Yeah, I didn't know before, but yeah, I appreciate what Councillor Weller said, and I completely agree with that. But if it hinges on this amount of money and whether they take away a cafe, could we not just do something smaller, cafe size? You know, even lease a bit of the space to something with a pop-up cafe, and then you've got a cafe, it could still be viable. You wouldn't have to be, you know, in that whole plan.
Councillor James, we are going to examine all avenues when it comes to any refreshment area, be it a tent, a kiosk, whatever.
I'm just saying, if that element's taken out, is that going to make a difference to the cost, or is it going to go back to the plan?
No, it means we lose the grant. Councillor Nicholson, please.
Thank you, Chair. Let's just be clear about this. It's being said that if we didn't have a cafe, then the lottery wouldn't give us the money. What is this definition of a cafe? You're now talking about maybe a pop-up kiosk, I mean, you know, or a tent or something. I mean, you know, can we be clear on this? What is our commitment to the lottery for providing a cafe? Because it's all very well, and I'm very much in favour. I hear what Councillor says. I think it's extremely important. But the lottery seems to be holding us to that, and we must have a cafe. These are people sitting in London who have no idea about the viability of this potential cafe, yet they're insisting that we have a cafe, of which the design of which, or the scope of which is unknown. If they're happy that we just put up a tent or put up a kiosk a couple of hours a day, that's fine.
Can I second the motion? We're now talking on, we've had a motion put to us. Can I second that? And let's
Sorry,
move
but I
on,
just
please?
wanted to reiterate.
No, we've heard all that.
If
Thank
we
you.
build it and nobody takes it. what do we do?
Order. I would like to ask Charmaine to say a few words and then get back to the original.
Yeah, so it is what it is. We're asking for 150k to bridge the gap. The cafe, whether it's a kiosk, which we're currently exploring as a cheap value engineering option, or if it's a full-blown cafe, which we originally planned for, it is an outcome. It's what we need to do to fulfill the outcomes of the lottery. We can't just pull it out. They're not holding us to amounts, so they're local. They're Southwest Lottery funders. They're not based in London. They know what they're doing, and I think we need to go to the vote because that's all been decided previously. This is about 150k funding gap.
Thank you. I have a proposer, Councillor Roos, and a seconder, Councillor Vernon. So could I ask all those in favour, please, to raise their hands?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Thank you. Anyone against? Abstention? That's one. Thank you. That's carried. Thank you. Right, now we have information items. And I'll ask Jane to give us a verbal update.
Thank you, Chair. To update members on the Community Governance Review, as you're aware, Dorset Council is currently consulting on a Community Governance Review for the Weymouth Town Council boundaries. Members of the public are urged to respond on the Dorset Council website, and councillors are asked to do all they can to promote the Community Governance Review to your residents and contacts to urge them to respond. And the deadline for responses is the 28th of December 2022. Weymouth Town Council will be hosting a public meeting to discuss the options at 5 p.m. on Tuesday the 13th of December in the new Town Hall in the Council Chamber here. We're extremely lucky that Councillor Spencer Flower, Dorset Council leader and chair of the Community Governance Review Working Group, will be attending to respond to questions on the process from the public and from councillors. Weymouth Town Council will be agreeing the council's response to the survey at a special full council meeting at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, the 21st of December. This is prior to the Finance and Governance Committee meeting at 7 p.m. on that day. Earlier today, Councillor David Harris and Councillor Luke Wakeling met with Councillor John Worth of Chickle Town Council to discuss the proposals that have been put forward by Dorset Council. Both Weymouth Town Council and Chickle Town Council agreed on many points, including that the correction of historical anomalies, this is where communities were divided, was a beneficial goal of the community governance review, although there was an obvious difference in opinion on how this should be achieved. Both councils also agreed that a clear division of areas was beneficial, particularly if that could be achieved with green spaces in between the natural communities. And both councils agreed that the South Hill extension did sit best within the Weymouth area. Discussions were had on wide-ranging views and on specific areas and where they best sit within each of the council boundaries. Both councils will be taking their views to their respective full councils for agreement. And as I said, this council will be meeting at a special meeting at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, the 21st of December, to decide the council's official response. A meeting is being held next week between Weymouth Town Council and Winterbourne Farringdon Town Council, who are our neighbours to the north. And this meeting is to confirm our agreed way forward on the shared boundary. Members will be aware that we have previously met with Winterbourne Farringdon and have agreed on a suggested boundary shift to the north of our boundary. And that meeting will be just confirming that and discussing the proposals put forward. Thank you, Chair. That concludes the information update on this item.
Thank you. Councillor Northam, you're going to give us a neighbourhood plan update.
And following the instruction, I hope you find this brief. At the last steering group, which was held on the 7th of November, we agreed to defer the next engagement with the public until January 2023. This engagement will be a sense check ahead of developing the draft neighbourhood plan in March, with a short questionnaire addressing key questions around land use. The results of the second survey have been published on both the DCF Have Your Say website and the Town Council website, along with a summary of key messages and findings that were derived by the steering group and others from this. Several meetings have taken place with Dorset Council involving Matt Piles, Councillor David Walsh, Hilary Jordan, Peter Hopkins and Nick Webster to avoid unnecessary differences between the emerging neighbourhood plan and the development strategy expressed in the Levelling Up Fund bids and economic investment zone response that Dorset Council had submitted on our behalf, because they both focus on Weymouth. These have been useful, and a dialogue is ongoing with the planning policy team and the assets team to achieve this lack of conflict. I'd like to also thank all councillors and members of the public who took part in the virtual tours of Weymouth. Some very site-specific data has been collected, which will help shape the design code for parts of central Weymouth. A progress review took place with the Department for Levelling Up on the 2nd of November, where they commended the team on how the Pathfinder project was progressing. We requested and now have in place additional support from the locality through a company called AECOM to bring together the complex elements of our neighbourhood plan, particularly around the site assessment process. So I'd ask people, both councillors and members of the public, to look out for notices and invitations relating to the next engagement in January 2023 on our website and social media. And that meeting, steering group meeting, the last one was attended by Tim Young, and extend an invite to other councillors to attend, along with members of the public who are welcome to write in and receive the appropriate papers. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. James, sorry.
On
Yes,
plan.
sorry, I'll just review it. Can Councillor Lovell just remind us all cost-wise what grants we're getting, so that I've sort of lost the detail. Have you got that to hand, David? I'm just, obviously we're in finance mode, so
Okay.
just remind councillors how much money we're getting from the consultants and from the government fund.
So we bid to Locality, who are the government agency that manage neighbourhood plans. We bid for 2 successive grants to the maximum value of 10k, so that's a total of 20k. We failed to spend some of that money and had to return it because of COVID and all those other things. So we've got no money left over because we have to return what we didn't spend. And we're still executing the second part of that money. But because of the complexity of what we're doing, I've gone back to them and said, help. And they said, yes, it is quite complicated. We'll give you some more help. We won't do it in another grant. We'll provide additional technical support. So we've had technical support in doing the housing needs analysis. We've had technical support in terms of doing the site assessment. And we've got ongoing technical support to do just get the phrase right. Essentially the environmental assessment of the whole of Weymouth and whether it will support further development. So it's an HRA and an SEA. I'm struggling to remember the exact initials, what they stand for. So we've had, I would say, about 100k of technical support, which is quite amazing. And it's a recognition of the size of the neighbourhood plan that we're producing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Right, I'll hand over to Town Clerk.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The code of conduct item is a hangover from a previous agenda and so has been withdrawn and is not relevant to this agenda. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And actions from previous meetings.
Thank you, Chair. There's an item that's been on there actually a very long time, which has got my initials against it as well, which is the governance group to explore the differences between this council and Dorset. I believe Jan asked this before lockdown. Do we still need it on there? Because we haven't really been able to answer it in 2 years, and I don't think we will in the next 2 years. Jan, are you still seeking? I mean, if you're still seeking answers, do you want to come and talk to me and tell me what questions are?
Yeah, I think we can take this outside the meeting.
Or yeah,
yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Gray.
I've got a question about the first item, commence legal negotiations with regard to Rylands Lane allotments. It's been on there since January 21. Can you give us an update as to where, because it seems a long time that we're commencing legal negotiations. Are we finished or?
This is, as far as I know, as I can remember.
You say the words Dorset Council, I know.
Is sitting with the principal, or it's a land registry issue. There are land registry issues that need to be cleared up to enable a legal transfer. And land registry issues take a lot of time.
Can we send in a notice to say, can we have some decisions on this, please?
We regularly meet with the assets team and the legal team with Dorset Council to resolve a number of different lease licenses and negotiations, and it is part of that that we do revisit on a 6-weekly basis with the legal team at the principal authority.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further actions? Right, Councillor Weller.
Just a small point on the governance working group. There have been a number of issues that the governance working group have needed to discuss, but Councillor Wakeling has been unable to get response from the members who are on that group to get together to discuss them. It's been very difficult. And it seems to me, if you want to be on the governance working group and you're interested in the governance of this council, you should make yourself available to join with Councillor Wakeling and have the discussion. And if you're not interested, say you're not interested and take your name off so that Councillor Wakeling isn't constantly sending out emails saying, when can we get together? If that means that there are only 2, 3 people interested in sitting on this group to sort out the governance, so be it. But let's not spend hours of Councillor Wakeling's time on getting, I don't know how many people it is, whether it's 7 or 9 or 29 of us. It just seems ridiculous to me. There are issues that I would really like to discuss on governance, haven't been able to over the last 2 years because nobody's available to sit down and discuss it. You know, I'm becoming in favour of a dictatorship, and I'll just tell you what I want you to do, and you can get on and do it. But what's different? I know. My friend says what's different, but I'd just like to, you know, if you want to be on governance, let Luke know. If you don't want to be, let Luke know. And Luke, we can then get together and discuss things. Sorry, that's a real rant, but it's irritated me.
I agree.
Thank you, Kate. What I shall do, I will organise a governance group and I will invite all 29. And if you want to come, respond. And if you don't, we'll just do it without you.
What's done?
We've got the advertising policy, that's the one that's,
Yes.
we need to get that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Weymouth Town Council forward plan. Councillor Harris.
I think I won't need it. Can you let us know whether the service committee is wrong on this and it has been moved, please?
So, yes, I'm happy to confirm that due to the services committee being on the evening before the by-election on the 8th of December, it has been moved to the 14th on 1 week, and that was with the agreement of the chair, who is unable to be with us tonight. But you're correct. I think at the time of dispatch it hadn't quite been agreed, but it is on the 14th. You members who are on the services committee should have an amended invite already. Yeah, thank you. And the papers will be going out on the day of the election on the 8th, as is usual for that meeting on the 14th. Thank you for raising that, Councillor Harris.
Thank you. I have a recommendation. Members are asked to note the information items.
Duly noted.
Duly noted. Thank you. I think that's it. I'll close the meeting. Thank you very much.
Are we here?